Well, howdy there, folks. This is Jesse Ariano, Makwawit Man, Makahwidal Man, however you want to say it, bringing you episode number 7 of Dreamtime with Jesse. Now, boy, have I had one hell of a month. I've had so much shit happen to me, man. I've seen stuff that'll make you say, like, what? Now, that being said, as of right now, I've yet to come up with a name for this episode of Dreamtime. And for those of you who are unfamiliar with what this is, it's where I tell you about all the crazy stuff that goes on in my noggin while I'm sleeping. It makes it ridiculously hard to sleep. It's probably why I'm so nuts. Anyway, I'm not gonna actually tell you what's been going on in my life, because, like, we'd be here all night. That being said, it'd probably be easier to just get into the most... what's the word I'm looking for? The dreams that made the most sense. So, let's get into that. For this first one, you're gonna need a little bit of background, which you might already know, but I don't know. We'll see. So, if you know me reasonably well, you know that I'm, like, somewhat of a fan of this band called Snail Mail. And the lead singer of this band, Lindsey Jordan, shows up in a lot of my dreams. Now, I don't want you to get the wrong idea. It ain't like my secret celebrity crush. I'm not attracted to her in that way. But what is attractive about Lindsey Jordan is that she just seems to be like a genuinely really nice kind of lady. You know? And I think that's why she shows up in a lot of my dreams, as kind of a contrast to a lot of the weirder and more fucked up shit that usually happens in them. For example, she was in that one where the aliens killed everybody, and that was pretty bad, but she was nice. She was like a normal person. It's crazy. And secondly, for this particular story, you gotta know about my garden and how when I tell people about it, a lot of the time, because I have, like, I don't want to brag or anything, but I have, like, a bit of a reputation for making stuff that's pretty cool. So, like, when I tell people about my garden and they haven't seen it yet, they seem to, like, formulate their own idea of what it looks like. And it's usually a lot cooler in their heads than it is in, like, you know, in the real world. And I'm like, I'm sorry guys, it's just that I'm not really all that great of a gardener just yet to be able to claim with confidence that I have a cool garden. I need a lot more experience and time and money, you know? Because some things, let's be fair, as much as I love to upcycle and use garbage and shit like that, some things are just easier to buy, not to mention it'll last you longer. In any case, let's get into this first dream. Now, in the opening scene of this dream, I'm walking down the street. Because, you know, for a good while there, I lived that bus and bicycle life. It was very hipstery. It sucked. Anyway, so I'm walking down the street, and I pass by this house, and there's Lindsey Jordan and her mom, and they're planting flowers in their front yard. And apparently I'm, like, real cool with Lindsey Jordan or something, because, like, you know, she, like, starts talking to me about how I inspired her to start gardening. Which brings us back to my thing where, like, you know, I got, like, maybe one little planter with flowers in my garden. And, you know. But anyway, so, yeah, she seems nice, and her life is going good and stuff. And I'm, like, chopping it up with her for a minute, and then I head on home, where apparently I'm married to a lady who seems pretty nice too. Apparently I did well for myself if I'm living in the same neighborhood as Lindsey Jordan and I have, like, a nice wife and stuff. Oh, and the fact that I can walk home from work is pretty cool, because out here in Texas, like, everything is pretty far from anything else, so that's pretty cool. Anyway, so I'm talking to my wife about, her day and stuff like that, and somehow magically it's dinner time now. Like, I shit you not, in the time that I, like, open the door and I talk to my wife, somehow the sun has, like, started to set. It's crazy. I don't know how it happened so fast, but before I know it, I'm eating spaghetti and watching the news, which is pretty weird, because, like, I don't watch the news anymore, because it's just depressing, and I got enough of my own life problems to deal with. Anyway, so, while watching the news, like I said, it's pretty damn depressing. It turns out that in my neighborhood, there's been, like, a bunch of murders going on, and the murders seemingly have, like, no motive, which is pretty nuts, because, there's always a reason, right? But anyway, so with that happy thought in mind, I fast forward all the way to the next day, and I'm walking down the same street again, except this time when I pass Lindsay Jordan's house, she ain't outside, but her mom is. Now, this was kind of funny, too. Generally speaking, I don't really interact with my friends' parents all that much. One, because I think it's kind of weird, and two, generally, like, I don't really have to. But, in this case, she calls me over, because apparently Lindsay Jordan is sick. And she asked me if I want to go in and talk to her, which is kind of weird, because, like, if you're sick, you should probably not, be around people who ain't sick. But it's a dream, so I go in there anyway. And I'm talking to Lindsay Jordan, and she's like, yeah, I feel like shit. And I'm like, yeah, I wouldn't doubt it. And I tell her all the stuff that normal people tell sick people. And then I go on my merry way home, because there's nothing I can do about that, really. So I tell my wife about it once I get home, and she's like, oh, we should make her a soup or something. And I'm like, yeah, I'm sure she'd appreciate that. And, the day pretty much just, like, goes by in a blur. And then I'm sleeping. I'm sleeping in a dream. How cool is that? And I wake up all of a sudden because I hear, like, glass breaking, which in my neighborhood is an indicator that some dickhead has just broke into your house. And in standard Macahuitl man fashion, I jump out of bed in my undies and I grab my Macahuitl off the wall. Because, I'm a Macahuitl man, and I Macahuitl whenever I can. Those blades ain't just for decoration. Anyway, so I open the bedroom door and I run out there, and you know who it is? It was fucking Lindsay Jordan who broke into my house. Except, you can tell she ain't Lindsay Jordan. At least, not on the inside. She's like possessed or some shit. But Lindsay Jordan's got a knife. So, because I don't want to, like, kill her, I thought we were cool, right? So instead I just smack her in the head real hard with the flat part, and she goes down like a sack of potatoes, and then I call the cops. And here's where it gets even funnier. I come from a place where you call the cops and they probably won't show up. But in this dream, it's like as soon as I hung up the phone, they were already there. It's crazy. Must be nice to live in a nice neighborhood or something like that. Then again, I kinda don't really like laws and rules and shit like that, so maybe it benefits me to keep law enforcement at an arm's length. In any case, yeah, so I can't tell you what exactly happened in the dream, like play by play, but from that point forward, I start investigating what it exactly was that, like, caused Lindsay Jordan to want to kill me. And not just that, but I end up finding out why everybody else killed the people that they killed. And it turns out that there's an evil witch in my neighborhood casting spells on people and like possessing them, using them like little meat puppets so she can go murder people, so she can collect their souls and trade them to Satan for extra magic doobles or something. And I'm like, I wake up that morning and I'm like, wow, I should write that down and turn it into a book or something, you know, minus Lindsay Jordan, because I don't wanna, what's the word I'm looking for? It's not offend. I don't know. The word escapes me at the moment. Let's see if you know it. A word to describe making somebody look bad. Is that slander? I don't know. Anyway. So, yeah. Second dream that made sense, because during this 1 month of my life, I dreamed a lot of weird shit too. Like, for example, I was on a lake and I was hunting people. People that were not exactly people. They were like chicken duck people. Does that make sense? They had like duck chicken heads, but they were people. It's weird. Weird dream. Anyway, so this next dream that makes sense and like has a story is about a magical talking toilet. Now, I didn't know it was a talking toilet yet, but in the opening scene, I'm back in high school, but not my high school, a much nicer high school. So nice, in fact, that they're doing regular maintenance to it right now. They're renovating it. And rumor has it that in the part of the school that's being renovated, there's a magic wish granting toilet. But the principal has made it very, very explicit that he doesn't want anybody using this magic toilet. I don't know why, but like I said a minute ago about me and rules, I'm a bit of a rebel, so in this dream I'm like best friends with this really tall Asian girl with like auburn hair. And I guess you could say she's like my partner in crime or something, because I devise a plan. I devise a plan so that we can use this magic toilet and grant our wishes. And yeah, so we sneak in after school, and like, you know, the guys are working there, because I guess that's just how they do it. I've never been in school where they renovate, so I don't know how that works. But anyway, in this dream, she causes a distraction to get these guys' attention and draw it away from this magic toilet. And I sneak in and I get in front of the toilet and I'm about to take a pee. I'm not even sure whether that's like what you're supposed to do. Like, am I supposed to pee in the toilet and then like flush it and think real hard about my wish or what? So I'm peeing in the toilet and like it starts to talk and I'm like, whoa, 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 what the hell is going on? And then the toilet asks me what my wish is. So then I tell it, and it tells me that as soon as I flush the toilet, my wish will come true. I'm not going to tell you what I wished, but you know, I flushed the toilet and then the screen went white and I woke up that morning and I was like, wow, that was a pretty weird dream. You know? Yeah. Good times, good times. Speaking of good times, I'm about to bring you down to a much more serious point. So, in my last video of What Would Man Makes, I made a Mokofuidal honoring and like in the memory of missing and murdered Native American women. And like in the beginning there somewhere I mention that I'm not like 100% convinced that it's really sexualization that's like the main factor as to why these ladies get murdered and kidnapped and shit. And like, I'm just gonna give you my 2 cents from my Hispanic background. And like, for me, the reason that it happens also often with this particular cultural group is because I'm not 100% sure on this, but to my knowledge, Native Americans only make up like 1 or 2% of the entire population of the United States. which, you know, makes them like a real minority. Not like down here in Texas where like everyone thinks they're a minority, but like frankly in my regularly scheduled life I interact with more Hispanic, Black, and Asian people than I do white people, so at this point it kind of seems like, at least in my neck of the woods, white people are a bit of a minority, you know? That being said, I think in the whole country they still make up like the majority. I'm not sure. But anyway, so at least down in like Mexico and shit like that, where girls are regularly kidnapped and whatnot, in those places, I'd say that the reason that it happens so often is really just because the government and, like, the people, for the most part, don't really seem to care. Now, I know that sounds kind of fucked up, because, like, how could you not care? Like, somebody is getting murdered and raped and sold to people. That's a big thing down there. People get bought and sold. But yeah, that's my thing, I guess. Like, I know that the sexualization of indigenous women is a big thing, and I'll leave you a few links down in the description to stuff that I was watching and reading when I stumbled upon this topic a long time ago. But yeah, it's definitely like a thing. It's a factor, but I don't think it's the main thing. I think it's really just that, like, the governments, local law enforcement and whatnot just don't give a fuck. So the people who do it, they know they can get away with it. Like, I don't know how often the people who do these things get caught, but I'm gonna go out on a limb here and say it's probably not very often. And on that depressing note, yeah, that's the end of Dreamtime with Jesse. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope that I didn't just totally depress you with the last few minutes of it. And more importantly, y'all take care of yourselves now. See you in the next one.